Greetings pilots and welcome to SCANalytics, a video series dedicated to analyzing match videos and explaining the decisions, design choices, and thought processes that players go through in Armored Core Verdict Day. For this first episode, I'll be explaining the match from my perspective and what I'm seeing and thinking in the midst of a fight. Without further ado, let's jump in. The following match is from the game time on Friday, March 17th, and is a 2v2 with Crocodile and I versus Sloth and Fury on Windy City. As the match starts, I rush to the other side of the map. There are two reasons for this. First is that you want to control an area that is advantageous and close to your opponent. Windy City in particular has these large buildings which tend to be focal points of fights as they give you the high ground as well as better positioning. It was also key that we took one of these points because of the huge area of water between their side and our side. We didn't want to force a fight there as it would either be a stalemate or a losing battle because neither of our builds were designed for open area combat. The second reason is to force a reaction from our opponent. By taking that area, an advantageous point, they are no longer able to access that point freely without risk of taking damage. What this means is that they are either going to probe and see if they can muscle their way in or they will fall back, which runs the risk of putting themselves in a corner. As we can see, it indeed forces a reaction as Fury closes in on my position. Normally you'd scan someone to find out their strength and weaknesses, but at this point Fury is too close and the head I'm using doesn't scan very quickly, so I have to make a guess. Luckily, I can identify the build just based on the silhouette, and I figure out that he's using a similar model of legs that I use, which lets me estimate his defenses and AP. I don't quite get it right though, as he's using a different version, with lower KE but higher CE and AP due to its combination of parts, but it's fine as my weapons are still able to do effective damage. I've got a triple shot battle rifle with about 2000 CE attack power, and a howitzer with 3000 CE attack power equipped, which means that a good 90% of the possible designs with those legs wouldn't be able to block it out. As Fury boosts forward, I fire a volley of rounds to see if I can scare him off. Fury unfortunately boosts left while glide boosting, possibly predicting what I would do, and in the process eating an entire volley in the face and causing him to miss his own shots. I can see based on the hit indicator that my shots all registered as effective damage, allowing me to narrow down the possible build combination that he is using. And because he is a little too slow to retreat, I press my attack and with another volley to his side as he attempts to wall jump away. During the process, however, Sloth has caught up and started targeting Croc, doing massive damage. I'm too preoccupied with finishing off Fury to notice Croc's AP drop to less than half in less than 5 seconds. You can see that my tunnel vision gets the better of me as I stop using movement and instead just stay relatively still to try and hit Fury, by the time which Croc is now dead and it's a 2v1. Sloth turns his attention to me as I continue to hammer Fury. I realize at this point that I can't get any more reliable damage and back off to reassess the situation. I momentarily lose track of Sloth as I try to pinpoint Fury. My goal at this point is to get rid of him while taking as little damage as possible so that I can take on Sloth. I catch sight of him crossing the river, most likely trying to get away during the confusion of his teammate dropping in on me. I manage to see him and try to hit him, though I don't land any effective hits. I spend about a good 15 seconds trying to chase down Fury, but I'm unable to kill him in that time. I'm too impatient, taking unwise and hasty shots when I should have been more patient in trying to kill him with one shot. By this time, however, Sloth has caught up and now I have to turn my attention to him. I make another guess and I mistake his heavyweight biped for a standard Moto Aoi model legs, with dual shoulders when he was actually a Flame/Fever series legs. I actually didn't notice this until the match was over, but I should have as he was moving pretty sluggishly overall. Anyway, I managed to catch him in a bunch of bad situations, which let me deal a lot of damage to him, although I don't get a good read on how much as I'm too focused on keeping my eye out on Fury, who is nowhere to be seen. I keep going back and forth with Sloth, trying to outmaneuver him and put him in a bad spot. As I'm slowly starting to chip away at him, however, Fury pops back in and I'm forced to take cover. I managed to land a few more hits, but not a killing blow. Again, I'm too impatient, and in my rush to kill him, I steadily take more damage. Bad choice on my part, as by the time I'm done I've lost more than half of my remaining health, whereas Sloth still has about 18-20k left. With Fury now dead, I focus a little more on narrowing down what Sloth is using. I still don't scan him, but guessing from what I've seen him use before in the previous fights, I narrow down his build to an Aoi Model 2 using some sort of shotgun battle rifle combo with dual autoguns designed for DPS. For me, this is perfect, as it means that Sloth has to rely on fighting me in wide open areas to do the majority of his damage, which I'm not going to allow because 1. Windy City has enough building for me to continually duck in and out of cover, and my build is designed for burst damage, so I only need a quick peek at him to do damage. It's also at this point that I fully realize that he's moving rather slow for a heavy, although I still don't realize he's not using an Aoi leg, so I continually force contact with him, which means he either has to burn his gen to keep up or be put in a situation where my AC's mobility will overtake him and allow me to take a shot. I miss a wall jump during one of these encounters, but thankfully Sloth isn't able to take advantage of it and I only lose about 1000 AP. I also realize that I've run out of battle rifle rounds and am forced to change my strategy slightly due to a change in the weapon synergy. Sloth has about as much or slightly less AP as I do now, so it's not a big deal, but I want to end this fight quickly if possible to avoid giving him a chance to bring it in his favor. I try baiting him by wall jumping back and firing a volley overhead, but he doesn't take it. I decide to continue retreating and see what happens next. I make a guess that Sloth will most likely try to get atop a building and glide boost, as I've backed up far away enough where I can't punish him effectively for it. To try and cut him off, I start my glide boot first. As he gets in lock range, I realize he has barely 1600 AP left, enough for a combined shotgun/missile or Howie volley to kill him with. I wait till my shotgun locks and then I let loose. Game over. And that does it for this episode of SCANalytics. Let me know what you think about the breakdown below in the comments. If you have any questions, anything you're curious about, or didn't think I covered, feel free to ask as well. Thanks for watching, until next time, pilots.